To Let's Talk Autism. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson.
And I'm Shannon Penrod.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so tired. Aren't we all tired? The light is changing.
Yeah, the fall is coming.
And I love the fall.
Yeah.
But I'm tired. And I hear a lot of people saying that.
And
that
it's
they're
back
not
to school
sleeping.
has been going on.
Yes, a lot going on.
Right.
And then we're about to step on the holiday treadmill, but I'm ready. I want that.
You do?
I do. I feel like I'm not good at beginnings and I'm not good at ends. I'm better at middles.
Okay.
And we're at the beginning of school, and I feel like, I said this to you yesterday, I feel like once we get to October 1st, everybody kind of settles into the routine.
Fall, yeah.
And then you got all those holiday things to look forward
right.
to. I like that.
Okay.
I do.
I know
It gets a little hectic sometimes.
You're
but
a big Halloween person.
I love Halloween. What do you... Excuse me, you're the Miss Costume person. I beg your pardon. The first time that we did Halloween together, Nancy was like, we should dress up for Halloween. And I was like, okay. And she says, let's be Lucy and Ethel. And I was like, okay. And I kind of threw something together, and the woman showed up with I think a dress that Lucy had actually worn for the show, and the wig, and had done makeup tutorials.
Yeah,
and
I did all
she
that.
was Lucy, and
Okay.
I looked like George Washington in a
I
dress.
like to do it with you. I think it's fun to do the dress up with you.
But, you know,
The trick or treat and all that stuff is, always my worst nightmare because of all the candy and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Anyway.
we'll talk about all that in time.
Exactly.
But in any case, we're here, and we've got a great show, and we're going to be joined any minute by Vince Redmond. But we thought we were going right to him, but he's still in another thing. So as soon as we get word, we're going to do in the news until we get word that Vince is available, and then we're going to drop everything to go to Vince because we really want to talk to him today. And a little bit later on, we have Stacey McAllister, who is going
Hoops for autism.
Yes, so we're going to talk about
511 Hoops, a nonprofit that provides basketball training for youth with autism with ASD.
And I think it's wonderful because somebody had written in just last night and said, last week we had somebody on the show who was talking about physical fitness for people on the spectrum, and they said, what about having a coach or somebody sports-wise that works with kids with autism? So Vince is also a soccer coach, so we have you times two today.
Yes, we do.
You're in good hands here. So let's jump into some news until we have Vince. Just out really in the last 24 hours, we're coming to you directly from spectrumnews.org, which is a great resource for news for all things, that there's a bunch of studies that are now saying, and you're going to see this in the headlines all over the place the next couple of weeks, that one of the screening tools that we use to screen for autism at an early age, and typically we were using it 24 months, it's called the MCHAT. It's the modified checklist for autism in toddlers. They're saying that looking at it and comparing when doctors did it at 24 months and now at 18 months, they're finding it is not as effective as they had hoped it to be at 18 months, that it can misdiagnose.
Right.
Now, so this is going to be all over the news that they're going to say the MCAT doesn't work at 18 months. I would like to throw something on the pile that perhaps one of the things why we have said early diagnosis is so important is that if you can catch a child before they get behind, then perhaps they don't have to get caught up at some point. Perhaps they don't get behind. So I just want to say, first of all, the people who did these studies are not recommending that you don't get the MCAT at 18 months. They're saying just be mindful
that it's not as effective.
It's not as effective. And that until something that is effective, it's the only thing that we have at that age until that we don't throw it away. And what if the reason why they're saying it isn't effective is if those kids were diagnosed at 18 months, got the help, and never actually needed to be diagnosed to begin with?
That could be.
So I'm just throwing that out there. We have Vince, so we're gonna drop right over to Vince. Vince, as you guys know, is a licensed marriage and family therapist. He's somebody who has worked in the field of autism as a therapist for many years, then became a marriage and family therapist. He's a regular here on the show, and we love Vince.
Yes.
Vince is just such a warm. I always feel like when you're with Vince, you're in good hands.
Yes.
So Vince,
Here
welcome
he is.
back.
Hi, Vince.
Hello.
Hello.
Good to have you here today.
And thank you I know you got a really busy morning, so thank you for being with us.
No problem. No problem. Had a little bit of computer issues, but I got it fixed.
Okay, all to the good. So, Vince, it's been a crazy week around the world with a lot of different events that happened, hurricanes, we've had floods, we've had fires, there have been earthquakes, and even more than that, really. And one of the things that we were hoping to talk with you today is how do we start to have conversations with our kids before these things happen to prepare them without scaring them?
It's difficult. I mean, I think it's scary for everybody, right? I mean, I think natural disasters are something that's, especially, in different parts of the nation, it's an anxiety that we all have. And I think that's where it comes into those prep courses, those, preparing for, events like that, so that there's somewhat of a predictability of what to do if something like that happens. So if there's an earthquake prepared kit, an earthquake prepared, escape plan, again, if you live in a fire zone, what is the escape plan then, so that we can prepare each other. Now, sitting down and going over it, reviewing it as a family, so it's more of a family affair. It's not something that's built around fear, built around anxiety. It's more, this is what we do as a family if this situation occurs.
Now, I remember once a long time ago, I don't think it was on the air, you and I were having a conversation talking about this when Jem was little, about what to do. And I remember one of the things, because I said I'm afraid of scaring him, one of the things that you clued me into then was making it like a fun game. Here's what we do if an earthquake is coming, and we try to find something to cover our head. Now let's play the game. Who can find a place, and doing it in different rooms. Do we just do that with the little ones, or we do that with the older ones as well?
Well, I mean, I think the concept is the same. The way you do it might be a little bit different, but the idea is making it lighthearted, making it more problem solving, more something that builds a sense of confidence with them, builds a sense of understanding with them, so that they're able to, if ever needing, and God willing never, have to put that into effect, that they would know what to do. Remember when we played the game about earthquakes? Okay, now we need to really do it. Let's find somewhere to hide, or let's find somewhere we can get under, or let's wait till it stops. Now we go outside, and all of that then becomes familiar again into what they do. So with the younger ones, like you were saying, I think playing games like that is actually really good, because it puts it in a sense where they're engaged, they're learning, they're having fun. There's no anxiety that's attached to it. However, if it ever needed to be implemented, then it could be resorted back to, remember that game? This is what we do.
And you suggest doing this with kids whether they bring up the topic or not?
I think, depending on where we're living, I mean, obviously in the East Coast with the hurricanes coming, there was plenty of time to prepare for them and to talk to them about it. I do think it's good to talk to them about things, play games, with that. It's kind of a little akin to school, how they do stop, drop, and roll. They do earthquake drills. They do fire drills throughout the year just to prepare the kids. I think it's probably a good idea as a family that those games are played at least a couple times a year, just in preparation, just in case something happens.
And since you brought that up, because I think one of my biggest fears is that something happens when my child's at school.
Right.
But there is a great in IBT, in the Institute for Behavioral Trainings, under the teachers, there is one that is specifically designed to help a teacher deal with if they have a special needs student in the classroom, preparing them and getting through a drill safety. And what a great gift. I think it's $10. Right. What a great gift to give a teacher. It's a video that they watch that will give them tips and ideas of what to do. And we have teacher appreciation coming up. And I always say, give them an IBT gift certificate. What better thing could you do? Yeah. You're helping them and helping your kid.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea, because I really don't think, that there's much difference in the emergency protocols than they have from typical classrooms to your special day classrooms, where we all know that's completely different, and you would need a completely different set of protocols and understandings, practice, and so forth for our kids in those classes than you would your typical school kids.
And I remember from watching it, there's a whole part of it that talks about dealing with the sensory issues during the thing, like the alarms are going to be going off. Some of the alarms have that flashing light in schools that go that freak me out.
Well, my son had a very bad experience with a fire truck when he was 2.
Oh,
Being
that's
taken onto
so
a fire truck when
Oh,
he
and he
was,
didn't like it?
No.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
horrifying.
Yeah, so he's always had a reaction to that.
Oh dear, and because that makes me sad because that's such a fun
And
thing.
one of the coolest things that I've seen more recently in classrooms is that they're now purchasing headphones for the classroom. So, the noise canceling earphones for kids, not necessarily for emergencies, however, they could be used in emergencies. But, when kids are overstimulated or they're starting to feel or there's an alarm going off, they're able to put their set of headphones on, which helps reduce the sensory input that they're getting. It's good to see that the schools and the field are starting to keep up with some of those sensory needs.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
one mistake can really scar a kid for a lifetime. Like
It really
did.
can.
It-
It
yeah.
really can. But I also, I'm a big fan of the whole idea of rehearsing everything. And so I think that there's something to be gained by doing this with all of our kids, even if there isn't a hurricane imminent
Or a fire
or a
an
fire.
earthquake.
That I actually think that's the best time to do it because there is something to be said. It's why we do it as adults and why we do the fire drills, because in the moment when the thing is happening, you don't quite know what to do, but
Right.
your body retains some memory of what it's.
And
So it's
they
also
always
good to
go
have
back to-
supplies on hand and to talk about why we need certain supplies.
That's true
Or
too.
in a-
Make them a part of it. What
Yeah.
were you saying, Vince?
No, and I was saying, like you were saying, it's something to always refer back to. Remember when we did,
Yes.
this drill or this game? It's the same in school. It's the same for adults. Like you were saying, then automatically you just, your muscle memory, you just follow what you've already done 100 times.
And you know what else? Not only that, but you were okay that time too. And that's something that a kid will, over a period of time, remember, and that you can remind them. Remember, we've done this
Right,
before.
right.
We've practiced this before, and you were okay then, and you're going
Yeah.
to be okay now.
Yeah.
And that's
Right,
very
sense of
soothing. Yeah,
Okay, well, I think we've got some good
absolutely.
groundwork here.
But I also, Vince, I don't know if you saw my email this morning. We had a question that came in because last week on the show, we had a wonderful
Coach for
a
kids with special needs.
and he
particularly
does
autism.
physical fitness
Yeah.
stuff. So runs a gym and does physical fitness stuff. And somebody wrote in last night and said, that was great. Now we'd like to hear from a coach who has had someone on the spectrum on their team. And we've got a coach that's going to be on in just a few minutes that's going to be talking about working with basketball with kids on the spectrum. But I know that you also coach soccer, and I wondered if you could take just a second to talk about that.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, the kids get out there, they run around, depending on the attention level of the child or the sensory, level of the child. It's great to get them out there, get them around other kids, get them in organized, an organized activity. I think the biggest thing is if you're a parent with the child on the team, is making sure that the coach is fully aware of what the child's capabilities are, maybe what their sensory needs are, how often they need breaks, those types of things. So then the coach is able to build that into their to their lesson plan or into their practice plan, so that they're able to do that. Because I've coached several kids over the years and refereed games with kids with special needs that were mainstream. They were on regular teams. They weren't in the VIP league. They were on the regular teams where with some coaching, with some encouragement, with reminders and reinforcers, just like we do in treatment, they're able to succeed. They're able to to participate, and they're able to have a great time.
It's a wonderful thing. I think it's a great opportunity for all of our
It
kids.
is. It really is.
I know Wyatt, he's been involved in sports his whole life, between basketball, baseball, football, and swimming.
Yeah.
So-
And we did Little League. I have to be honest, we're not the sports family.
Right.
My husband and I both are not, that's not really our thing, but he does a lot of swimming and things like that. And right now, Jem is running, hoping to run in the marathon
That's
this year.
amazing.
We'll see if he actually is able to do it, but there's a team at his school that they run in the marathon. So, so that's a good thing. But we're not really the team sport kind of
Right,
people.
right,
I
right.
did team sports in high school. It wasn't my favorite thing.
Right.
But
Nor mine.
but I think that it's really good for a lot of our kids,
It
and
is.
it really helps them to have a sense of camaraderie Don't you, Vince?
I do. And to be honest, I think it's good for the parents too to be able to be on the sidelines and see their kids having a good time.
Yeah.
Participating with other kids.
As long as we don't participate in the yelling that can happen on the sidelines, right?
I
Yeah,
think
don't
we
yell
tend to
at the
be
referee.
I think we tend to be a little
Though.
less competitive as parents of special needs
No,
kids.
but personally, my thing is the parents who are competitive, who are freaked out because your kid is playing. I can't deal with that.
Yeah, I know.
I have no time or space for that. I'm like, your biggest problem is that my child is playing on your team. Good for you.
Yeah.
In any case, I know, Vince, that you've got a meeting, so we want to let you go, but we thank you always for your time and your expertise and your energy.
Thank
My
you,
pleasure.
Vince.
Thank you
Okay.
so much,
Have a
Vince.
great rest of your week.
You
Thanks.
too.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let's take a short break and
Okay,
then let's
then we'll
come back and
do
finish
more
up the
in the
news.
news.
Yes, and then we're going to have Stacey McAllister. Before we go,
Yeah, you
over the
went to a fun
weekend.
thing over the weekend.
Yes, we went to the Ed Asner poker tournament, Poker with Ed, and we had a wild and woolly time. It was a wild and woolly evening, and a lot of money was raised for autism that benefited the Autism Society of America. And they talked about the fact that, those funds were going to be going to help with people from the hurricanes, and it was really star-studded. The red carpet, I kept joking and saying that it was 700 degrees. It was probably just slightly less than that, but it was so hot we were all dying.
You talked to a lot of
And
wonderful people.
We
Who
did.
did you
Well,
grab?
and we're going to see a highlight reel here in just a second. The whole interviews are available still on our Facebook Live. You can
Okay.
watch the uncut, unfettered mess. Because, on the red carpet, when you're live, it is a mess. And there's, sometimes you have not a whole lot going on, and then you
Right.
have too much going on. So it's like that. But I would say the big highlights, Rosie O'Donnell ran up to us and said, I know you. You're Autism Live. I watch your show.
Which
and
is
then,
just great.
and then we had a lovely chat with her, which was just divine because she's part of our tribe. And for the longest time, there was a period of time in which she wasn't disclosing that. And
Right.
she's now disclosed that her youngest child was diagnosed with autism and that she considers herself new to the community. And so she's been watching the show, which just made my night.
Of course
right?
it did.
But there were so many other wonderful people. Lou Diamond Phillips was there. I'm trying to think. Patricia Heaton was there.
Daryl
Matthew
Hannah
Modine.
there?
Daryl Hannah was there.
Right.
We spoke to Daryl Hannah, not on camera, and she
Right.
said that she would be interested in coming and being on the show.
Wonderful.
So we're hoping that will work out. It was the other highlight for me, and I don't know if everybody loves, but I love Randy Rainbow.
Right.
So I was over the moon about that, and he did a lovely, luscious little side interview for us because Samantha, bless her heart, passed out on the red carpet during our interview with Rosie O'Donnell. We lost Samantha because of the heat. It was crazy how hot it was. And so we stopped and dealt with that, and Samantha's fine, and she was fine later on that evening, but it was a hairy, scary little moment
Right.
where we were all a little bit nervous.
Well, you've got a great video. Let's take a look
Yes,
at
let's
it.
take a look.
I know you. I watch Autism Live. Oh my! But I watch your stuff a lot because my daughter was diagnosed a year ago in October, so we're not even a year through yet. And I've been watching your.
I want to die. I just want to
No,
die.
I watch it.
Did you just say, who is this? You just took my drink. You could at least pretend you know who I am.
That's right.
I'm extremely famous.
This is Randy Rainbow, Andy Dick, and there is Lou Diamond Phillips.
Yeah.
And he
He's
is
a
shining Randy Rainbow's shoes. No, that's real, you guys. That is absolutely real. There's Lou Diamond Phillips shining.
Okay,
That's
how
true.
much are you gonna give him? How much are you gonna give him?
All love him. Thank you so much.
25 cents.
Thank you.
Andy Dick just stole my drink. I don't know.
I know. I love you too.
I've never gotten my dad.
I hear it's your son's birthday today.
Yes, it is.
And so, where were you 50 million years ago? Were you there when he was
I
born?
was in the sack.
Okay. What's
the matter?
She's gonna faint.
Why? Why? Okay, let's get her some cold water. We need you. Yes.
I want everybody to know Samantha's okay, and we are hydrating her. There's Samantha. See, she looks good. She survived.
So it's nice to see Rosie kind of came to the rescue there of Samantha.
Yes, she was so sweet the whole night. And you know, those are sort of our adult moments,
Yeah.
some of them. And but there are some really nice interviews that we did too that you guys are going to have available to you on Friday, just the edited versions. You can watch the raw footage. But some people who said some really wonderful things about our kids, some wonderful stars. One of the actors from SEAL Team was there and said some really beautiful things. And Ed, we had that moment there. You know, Ed and I have a very fun relationship where we give each other grief. But he said some lovely things. And so many kind stars who came out that night and really did their level best, whatever was required to raise money. They were silly during the auction. They played poker and they kept, you know, buying more chips. And it was really lovely. It was
great to see the community come together.
So nice to see that. And it was a fun night.
Yeah,
Wow,
I know you had a
Willie.
good time.
Yeah, we did.
All right, so we have some more in the news. Congress wants to change the Americans with Disabilities Act and undermine the civil rights of people with disabilities. This is out of the ACLU report.
Yes, and I think it's really important that we all be mindful because it starts out with just something little that wants to be changed, and then suddenly we've gotten into an area where it's like, wait a second. And right now, I understand with the economy, and it's very hard for businesses, that it's very hard for a business to become ADA compliant.
Yes.
I get that. But so this new proposal is saying that they won't necessarily have to become compliant within a certain amount of time.
No.
That you can open your business and take perhaps years to get your business ADA compliant.
And it's now incumbent upon the person with the disability to point out that it's not ADA compliant.
Which is, you know, and I know when you're talking to a business owner, they go, but it's killing us, right? But do we want to go back to the days when we're just excluding people and saying, I'm sorry, if you don't have the use of your legs, you can't come in.
You can't come into our establishment.
Is that really, because I don't know about you, you were raised with a brother who had special needs. I was raised by a mom who had a physical disability. And there were things that we as a family couldn't go do because my mother's wheelchair couldn't get in. Or my mother couldn't get there on crutches. You know, I think we have to be really careful, and as the autism community, it would be very easy for us to say, "Oh, this isn't a sticking point for us."
It
will
all
be.
of us.
It will.
So
be.
it's a harmful new bill, the so-called ADA Education and Reform Act of 2017, and it's gaining steam. It's HR 620, and we must stop this bill from ever becoming law.
And this is coming to you from the ACLU. So I hope that you'll join Nancy and I in talking about the fact that this is not what the autism community wants to see passed as well.
Now, on the good side, we've got the feds awarding millions of dollars for autism research,
which is wonderful. National Institutes of Health are distributing millions of dollars to universities across the country to conduct research projects designed to increase what's known about autism.
That's right.
We love that. That's a really exciting thing. I know we've had some concerns about what the research funding is going to be, so this is good news.
Right, very good news.
Fabulous.
And then we have another story out of CNBC about scientists narrowing down the startling risk factors that can cause autism, saying that childhood or prenatal exposure to toxic chemicals such as pesticides and hormone-disrupting phthalates, is that how you say it?
Phthalates, yeah.
Phthalates found in plastic and some found in air pollution play a role, and mothers who have bacterial or viral infections during pregnancy or those who are obese are more likely to give birth to babies who later develop autism.
But the key thing for me in this study is that childhood or prenatal exposure to toxic chemicals such as pesticides and hormone disrupting phthalates are a cause of this, and that air pollution is playing a role.
Yes.
We all need to get mindful about this. I think there's so much controversy that swirls around the causes of autism, but we all, I think the entire autism community understands that at this point that there are things that change in the child of a body and that it's because of environmental insults. We can spend the rest of our lives arguing about what those insults are and ticking them off. And we're having a lot of pushback about people not wanting to do studies about certain things because it doesn't behoove them to. But there are things that we can all take control of right now, and the amount of exposure that we all have as human beings and that we pass on to our children for pesticides, we can all be mindful of that.
That's right.
There is a movement right now to become more organic and to have more measures to make sure that organic food really is organic and that it isn't Frankenfood, GMO food. And I always say, fight all the battles that you want to, but make the changes that you can immediately
within your own sphere.
And this is something, there may be bigger things that you want to fight that you can't change right now.
Right.
But feeding your child the healthiest, pesticide-free food that you can, and making sure that their environment and the things in their environment are as non-toxic as possible. We all have the ability to do something towards that end.
Yes.
And if you want to know more about that, we can do a whole show about that. If you still have non-stick pans in your home, I want you to start with getting rid of those.
Okay.
Not good for the air
Good
quality
idea.
in your home.
Okay.
And there we've gotten rid of all the sponsors that we would have had that were non-stick cookware. Poof, gone. In any
Okay.
case, we think that
So,
Stacey
we
McAllister
think
is here.
so. We're going to be talking more about sports and
He
autism.
is, he's here.
Okay, he is here. And we're going to come back to hear about his wonderful program, 511 Hoops, which is a nonprofit that provides basketball training to youth on the autism spectrum. So stay with us. This is the Act Today, One Hope Act Today for Military Families Run and Festival, and it's to benefit military families challenged by autism. So we're out here for a great day. Not only is there a 10K run, a 5K run, and a 1 mile fun run, there's a kids run and there's an Easter egg hunt. Military families are particularly hard hit because they have very special circumstances.
I have 3 kids in my family. You know, my nephew has 3 children that are all on the spectrum. And for me, it originally became about understanding and learning about autism. And then it became about, you know, what can I do to help? It takes $3 million to raise a child through their lifetime with autism. That's a great reason to get involved.
On your mark, get set.
One Hope Wine is the 7th annual title sponsor of the One Hope Act Today for military families because we believe that giving back is good business. Of-age runners are probably going to meander over to the One Hope and Stone Beer and Wine Garden for a celebratory glass. For the younger generation, the Family Fun Zone.
This is a big thing for us because it's about getting more treatment to more people, raising awareness. It's a really good event. We're proud to be a part of it for 7 years now, and we're a local office, so we wanted to be here.
Stroller Warriors is a free running club for military spouses and their families. A lot of us are impacted by autism, so it's just a great way for us to get together and raise some money and bring attention to this important cause.
forget the people element involved with autism. You know, the families that are suffering, the children that are suffering.
Society could be robbed of so much untapped potential, talent, and skills if we're not helping the children of these military families as much as any other children out there. Not just those suffering with autism, but those struggling.
People should get together and tell their friends and family to donate to Act Today. It's a really important cause, one that's close to our heart and the San Diego community as a whole, and an incredible opportunity to support the military. So get out there and donate.
A lot of adults don't really believe kids. They'll think, kids are kids, what are they talking about? But when a child stands up for what they believe in, it's so strong and powerful. I first got involved with autism advocacy 4 years ago when my friend was diagnosed. When I found out about my friend's diagnosis, I didn't really understand what it meant. But it didn't matter to me or change our friendship. I didn't look at her any differently. We still had so much fun together. Now I know that she experiences life a little differently than me, and that's okay. Knowing what she goes through has helped me to understand and be more caring towards other people in similar situations. I got involved with Act Today because I wanted to do whatever I could to help. They provide options like behavioral therapy, medical care, social skills programs, assistance to military families, and much more. Being there for my friend was my #1 priority. I've been volunteering and spreading the word about the cause via my social media platform because raising awareness is a crucial first step. There needs to be more kids and teens involved to make sure that our voices are heard just as loudly as the adults. You may be small like me, but your acts of kindness are not.
We are back with Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and we're joined by now Stacy McAllister. Hi, Stacy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, and yourself?
We're doing great. We're doing great. We, as promised, this is about basketball and autism.
Yes.
And Stacy, first, let's talk a little bit about your background in basketball.
Okay. Well, I played collegiately at Claflin University in South Carolina. After graduating, I had the opportunity to play in England. I played for half a season, and then 3 years ago I played in Brunei, which is located in Southeast Asia.
But things changed a little bit for you when you welcomed a son into the world. And I understand, how old is your son now?
My son is 6 years old.
Okay, and is it okay to talk about
Yes.
him and the fact that he was diagnosed with autism spectrum
Yes.
disorder? And that probably changed your life a little bit, yes?
Completely, yes. Completely, yes.
But you seem to have landed completely on your feet.
Right.
Because as Nancy always says, sometimes this opens up a whole new world. You
Right.
say your disability is sometimes your opportunity.
Right.
And you've taken this opportunity as a dad who knows a bit about hoops, and now having a son, you've decided to not only teach him about this, but to create something that teaches a lot of people.
Correct.
Yeah, so tell us how 511 Hoops, which is named after your son's birthday, 511.
Yes, that's correct.
How was that born? How did that come about?
It was an interesting story. So like I said, after college, I had a chance to go to England and play. And I was home for about 2 months, and I was actually going to leave again to go to Australia to play. So about a month before, that's when I found out my son was diagnosed. So I was at that fork in the road. It was like, hey, do you go play, or do you figure this out? You have to learn about the different interventions, the different therapies. So like I think I made the best decision. Stayed home, did all the therapy, learned. I didn't even know really too much about autism, so just getting information about autism and learning all about the different therapies. 3 years later, the coach that was actually going to sign me to play, he had opportunity. He knew my situation, and he said, "I have opportunity for you to play in Asia." And I'm just like, you know what? I'll go. He said, "You leave in 2 weeks."
Ooh.
I said, "Okay, that's fine." He said, "You'll be there for about a month and a half." So went there and played. The coaches and a lot of people in the Brunei knew my situation with my son. So they linked me with a guy named Ken Hahn with an organization called Shooting Stars of Brunei. And they're just an organization that does basketball training for children. And he said, would you like to do a basketball clinic? I was like, sure. So he says, it's going to be for the Special Olympics. Okay. Now keep in mind, I never did basketball training, I never coached, but I played basketball my whole life. So I did an hour clinic with the Special Olympics there, and I just threw out drills that your typical basketball player would do. I mean, speed ladder, hurdles, ball handling, shooting, passing. And the feedback that I got from the parents there was, they were amazed. They were like, this is amazing. The kids loved it. They were wondering if I was staying in Brunei. I was like, no, I'm going home in a couple of weeks. So in between the time between games, I just started thinking about things. I'm like, hey, it'd be cool if I brought that back home. Jotted down some ideas and came up with 5'11 hoops, which is actually my son's birthday, May 11, 2011. Came home, made some flyers, handed them out at my son's speech and occupational therapy center, created a social media page, and recorded video of some of the kids that were working out. And it just kind of.
Where are you based?
I'm based in 2 areas. So I'm based out of Compton. That's one location, one of the main locations that we do training out of, as well as Santa Monica and Culver City during the week, sparingly.
And are these ongoing classes, or are they?
Yes.
They are.
Yeah, so the classes in Santa Monica are on Sundays at Crossroads High School. The one in Compton is at Wilson Park. And during the week, I have individual clients that I work with one-on-one. We do one-on-one lessons, and that's more so in the Culver City area.
And how did you apply some of the therapies that your son was going through to this?
So with the group classes, I apply a lot of social skills therapy. I have the kids interact. When talking with me, I want them to give me eye contact. When I see that they're not focusing, I may do a gesture just to see if they're paying attention. With a lot of drills, always in the beginning, we do a lot of agility drills, jumping, and it gives a lot of sensory input, like a lot of deep pressure.
We're seeing some pictures of what
sensory
the
input.
kids are doing.
Yeah.
And from there, we go into shooting, ball handling, passing. I'm always asking them questions while doing drills, getting them to do 2 or 3 different things at once, as well as with drills. I try to get them to do 3-step commands, 2-step commands. So working on different things, working on cognitive development, physical, as well as just socially. We're working a lot of the different therapies that the children are doing. We're all combining that into one around basketball.
And how do you find them responding?
Very well. I mean, I've seen changes in some of the kids I've been working with for 2 years. So I've seen changes just socially, more confident. They're happy to come, as well as like the classes. I've seen a lot of the kids, they're just meeting friends. So I have some kids, they're meeting friends, and on the weekends, they're going out and having little play dates. So I think a lot of it is just a lot of confidence building. Physically, they're getting stronger. It works on gross motor as well. And it all benefits for their development.
Absolutely. I mean, the studies have been showing more and more that anything that crosses the midline helps with cognition. So when we look at a sport like basketball, where at some point when they're dribbling, sometimes they have to dribble with this hand on that side, that's crossing the midline.
Right.
So not only are they getting that physical exercise that we talked about last week and helping to be more toned and be more healthy, but they're getting that social interaction. When they're better at these skills, when they're on the playground, they're less likely to be picked on. So it's helping to make them bully proof, and it's building their cognition. It's kind of a win-win-win-win-win.
Yes.
So a remarkable thing. How has your son responded?
He's doing pretty good. He's not to be honest, he's not a fan of basketball.
Not yet.
Not yet. I mean, he's so young. But honestly, with a lot of the agility drills and jumping, I mean, he loves to run. So that really helps him because he needs a lot of sensory input. So those drills for him works out tremendously, and it gets him to calm down. I can get his focus. But when I think in a more social setting with the group, he sees the other kids doing it, so he tends to mimic them. So it does benefit, as opposed to me working one-on-one. It's like, Dad, why are you making me do this?
Right.
I do see a lot of changes with it, just getting his focus. With it.
I also want to say too, one of the things CARD has discovered over the years, because they're taking data to phenotype autism, because we all know that there's different types
Correct.
of autism. There's one particular type of autism that I'm keyed into because it's the type of autism that my son has, that some of you may be able to relate to, that our kids don't make particularly good eye contact. They're bad for a while. They're bad with handwriting skills. They're not good with catching a ball. And then later on, they're not teaching them to ride a bike and tie their shoes is difficult. And that Card has discovered that all of that goes back to the catching a ball skill. And if you go back and perfect the catching a ball skill, and it could be a bigger ball, the rest gets easier.
Right.
And because there's a hand-eye coordination thing that is involved in all of those things that is fixed by catching a ball. And it doesn't have to be a baseball, which is harder to catch.
Right.
Catching a basketball, which is a little bit nubby and it's bigger, it's easier visually to track, can do the same thing. So really helpful
These
for
skills
lots
help
of
to
different
build
reasons.
on other skills.
Absolutely.
So tell us how people can get in touch with you if they're interested in working with you.
Yes, there are multiple. Well, you could email me at 511hoops@gmail.com. You can reach out on the website as well. It's 511hoops.com.
Okay.
Facebook, 511hoops. Twitter, 511hoops, as well as Instagram.
But your hashtag is dribble.
Dribble for autism. So if you
with
look
the
at
number 4.
Correct. If you type that in anywhere, probably just on Google, that'll come up.
Okay.
So you could get in contact with me from there.
Wonderful.
Okay, and we hope to see more programs like this across the country.
Definitely.
Are you talking about maybe expanding these groups?
That's the plan. We'd like to expand more out throughout Los Angeles, as well as San Fernando Valley, Orange County, the Inland Empire. Hopefully grow from there.
And maybe franchise around the country,
definitely.
around the world.
There's a lot of need.
Well, since we've got you, I just want to take one more minute because it's so infrequent that we have an autism dad, and our dads need to hear from dads in the worst way, because I think we can all admit that it affects moms and dads in different pockets and areas.
Yes.
And I think it's harder in a lot of ways for the dads.
Yeah.
And there are many dads who don't know what to do and find themselves going and putting their time and energy into work. What do you want to say to dads so that they can be, what's helped you to get back involved in your son?
I think it's just patience. I mean, I think every dad wants to have their son being involved in sports, but you can't look at it as it's a burden. I mean, children across the spectrum, there's so many things they can do, and you'll be surprised. So maybe sports may not be their thing. It could be, you have to find that niche, that talent that they have.
That you can relate to
That
your
you can
child.
relate to and go from there. I think that's the biggest thing, because if they can't communicate with you verbally, they do feel you, and they can feel energy. So I think connecting with them, find something that you can connect with, and gradually throw new things at it. If it's sports or if it's music, gradually throw stuff at them. So as as they get older, then maybe they may tend to like that activity. But it takes a lot of patience, and I think enjoy it, embrace it. It's a beautiful journey.
You're clearly a very proud dad.
Oh, yes,
and that's
definitely.
a wonderful thing. Is he your only? Or do you
I have
more
a son
kids?
and I have a daughter. So I have my son's 6 and my daughter's 3.
Okay.
So she helps out a lot. She's the little sergeant in command.
Okay.
And that's the best
Yeah.
therapist for a little boy, to have a bossy girl.
Yes,
Oh
exactly.
yeah.
You're lucky.
She's just like, me and his mom, we have commands and she follows suit and makes sure he's in line with it. And she's only 3, so
she knows. She's her own
She's
little
a
personal
taskmaster.
oh
therapist.
yes. Oh,
I
yes.
love that. What
Well,
a
keep
wonderful
up the
thing.
good work. This is a great program, and we commend you for taking it on.
Thank you.
So
Absolutely.
dads, listen to these words about getting involved in the things that you love that maybe you can then transfer to things your child can
Absolutely.
get into as well.
And 511 hoops, or you can put in hashtag dribble for autism, the
Yes,
number
number 4.
4.
Right.
Correct.
Stacey, thank you so much for
No
being
problem.
with us.